Midnight struck, and America's government shut down. Hundreds of thousands furloughed, millions bracing for chaos, and Trump vows some jobs may never return. Healthcare hangs in the balance, markets tremble, and Washington descends into paralysis. This isn't just gridlock, it is as Trump's gamble to remake government by force, and the nation is caught in the crossfire. The United States has entered a new cycle of political and economic uncertainty after President Donald Trump and Congress failed to strike an agreement to keep the government funded by Wednesday's deadline. At 12:01 a.m. on October 1st, the federal government officially shut down, triggering furloughs for hundreds of thousands of workers and unleashing a wave of disruption across agencies and public services. Roughly 750,000 federal employees are expected to be sent home, some potentially dismissed permanently under Trump's unprecedented strategy. Many federal offices will be shuttered, possibly for good, as Trump vows retaliation against Democrats. His immigration crackdown is expected to continue, while education, environmental, and health programs face severe disruption.
President, if there is a shutdown, how many federal workers do you plan to lay off?
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats. And as you know, they want to be able to take care of people that have come into our country illegally, and no system can handle that. And so we're totally opposed on that. But we can't take it. We just can't do it. I'd love to do everybody. I'd love to do the whole world. But our country can't handle people that come into our country illegally. And they want to give them full health care benefits. They want to open the wall again. Can you believe it? I can't even believe it. They want to open the wall. They haven't taken away boys playing in women's sports. They haven't done that. Men playing in women's sports. It's like they don't change. They lost an election in a landslide, and they don't change.
Despite the president's public insistence, Trump was unable to broker a compromise with congressional leaders. It marks the third time he has presided over a government funding lapse, and the first since returning to the White House in January, underscoring the political paralysis that has come to define his presidency. The stakes are high. Democrats are pushing to secure billions in funding for healthcare subsidies under the Affordable Care Act, warning of spiking insurance premiums for millions. Republicans, backed by Trump, have flatly refused, encouraging the president to hold firm. After a private White House meeting this week, Trump escalated the feud with a mocking video of Democratic leaders, which critics branded unserious and racist. Past shutdowns have been political theatre more than lasting economic shocks, but this one may prove different. Trump has warned that some furloughed employees may not be allowed to return, an unprecedented move that could permanently shrink the federal workforce. Each week of shutdown drains about 0.2% from US economic growth. Normally, these losses are recouped once workers return with back pay, but if Trump follows through with permanent cuts, the impact could reverberate for years. The shutdown comes at a precarious time. The US labor market has been slowing for months, with unemployment rising to 4.3% in August, its highest level since 2021. Trump has already sacked Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner Erica McIntyre after the agency revised job growth figures downward by 900,000, the largest correction on record. The revisions intensified Trump's pressure on the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. Brian Mulberry, senior portfolio manager at Zacks Investment Management, said the losses, while serious for federal workers, may not move the broader jobless rate dramatically.
Would losing 100,000 federal workers move the unemployment rate higher? The answer is no. It would add just 0.06% of private sector hiring, fail to offset the losses.
Still, Washington, D.C., home to one of the largest concentrations of government employees in the country, could face the brunt of the disruption. The administration is also preparing to oversee more than 100,000 deferred resignations as part of its Department of Government Efficiency. a body created to downsize federal operations. The immediate cause of the shutdown was the collapse of both Democratic and Republican spending bills in the Senate late on September 30th. Democrats had pushed a plan to extend healthcare subsidies and reverse cuts to Medicaid, while Republicans advanced a 7-week stopgap bill. Both failed, leaving the government without funds at the start of the new fiscal year. White House Budget Director Russ Vought confirmed to agencies that they must now execute an orderly shutdown, including plans for potential mass firings. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer urged Republicans to compromise, accusing Trump of failing to recognize the scale of the crisis.
Democrats do not want a shutdown. We stand ready to work with Republicans to find a bipartisan compromise, and the ball's in their court. Finally, after months of asking, and mounting pressure, Leader Jeffries and I went to the White House yesterday to meet with the President and Republican leaders to find a way forward. And sitting in the room, it was very clear, behind closed doors, that the President hasn't fully grasped the magnitude of the disaster he's causing Americans.
Vice President J.D. Vance, however, blamed Democrats for the impasse after the White House meeting. The shutdown marks the 21st funding lapse since 1977. During Trump's first term, the U.S. endured its longest ever closure, 35 days between 2018 and 2019. That standoff left federal workers queuing at food banks, while air traffic controllers and Coast Guard personnel worked without pay. The Congressional Budget Office later estimated that $3 billion in economic activity was lost permanently. This time, Democrats are leveraging their votes in the Senate, where a 60-vote threshold is required, to press for permanent healthcare subsidies. Republicans insist the issue should be addressed separately. House Speaker Mike Johnson placed blame squarely on Democrats.
They want to fight Trump. A lot of good people are going to be hurt because of this.
As the shutdown begins, Americans are left wondering which services will continue and which will grind to a halt. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid will keep issuing payments, though delays are expected due to staff shortages. The Pentagon will remain operational, with active duty troops required to work without pay if the shutdown persists, while Homeland Security personnel will mostly stay on duty. But millions of others face immediate uncertainty. As many as 4 million federal employees, including TSA agents, air traffic controllers, and members of the military, may go without pay. Federal contractors such as cleaners and security guards, often among the lowest paid, are not guaranteed back pay. National parks and Smithsonian museums are likely to close in the coming days, while the Food and Drug Administration has warned it cannot ensure the safety of meat, milk, and eggs during the shutdown. Courts, too, have cautioned that their funds may run out by the end of the week. Trump has openly stated his administration will target programs important to Democrats, cutting what he described as things that they like. With Republicans holding firm in the House and Democrats unwilling to retreat in the Senate, the standoff continues. For now, the shutdown has exposed a profound divide in Washington. Democrats are unwilling to bend on healthcare funding, and Republicans are determined to back Trump's hardline strategy. Ordinary Americans, federal workers, contractors, military families, and citizens reliant on public services are caught in the middle. At its core, the shutdown is being driven by one immovable demand from Democrats: permanent funding for healthcare subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. Republicans, with Trump's backing, have dismissed this as a non-starter. Until one side softens, the deadlock will continue. In the Senate, where 60 votes are needed, neither party has the numbers to act alone. That leaves compromise, whether through a stopgap measure or a broader bipartisan package combining healthcare, defense, and border security, as the only realistic solution. External pressure could play a decisive role. Financial markets, already jittery, could force Republicans back to the table if investor confidence falters and borrowing costs rise. At the same time, mounting anger from millions of unpaid federal workers could shift the political calculus if public opinion begins to blame both sides equally. For Trump, the shutdown serves both political and personal purposes. He has promised sweeping cuts to the federal workforce and views the crisis as a lever to force through those changes. Democrats, meanwhile, believe they cannot afford to abandon healthcare, a cornerstone of their platform. Ultimately, an end to the shutdown would require one of three things: a collapse in market confidence, a public backlash powerful enough to shift political risk, or a quiet deal behind closed doors that allows both parties to claim victory. Until then, Washington remains paralyzed, and the country, once again, caught in the crossfire.